I'm the ultra healthy video game nerd, and welcome to another episode full of love and betrayal. Last time I introduced a game that I felt was an underappreciated hidden gem on the PlayStation 1, Kuro Chan, and this time, in the same vein, I'm going to introduce another PlayStation 1 game that I feel is under the radar and deserves more appreciation. So, what do we have on our hands? It's Kaettekita, Cyborg Kuro Chan by Konami. How could that be? How could there be a great 2D action game by Konami that people don't know about? That makes no sense. They're a huge company. They've had a loyal following of hardcore gamers for decades. Doesn't make any sense to me either. Well, let's check it out. Cyborg Kuro Chan started out as a comic and anime series, and from what I've seen, it was geared toward a very young audience. The main character is Kuro Chan, a black cat who was turned half robot by a mad scientist, but managed to escape, and now must battle against a robot army to save humanity, all the while living out the life of a normal house cat. The voices and daily occurrences are, to use a not very nice word, infantile. The series was cut short due to the production company going under before they could wrap up the story, but that didn't stop the series from crossing over into video games. There were two for the Game Boy Color, essentially gun shooting games where you control a crossfire and the only control you have over the character is jumping. And finally, the PlayStation game, which was released after the demise of the anime in 2002. That's another very late release for the PlayStation. The game is a side-scrolling action shooter, in which you progress through 6 levels, blowing up anything that gets in your way. Each level ends with a boss fight, which requires more strategy and reflexes than the rest of the game. You can choose between one of 3 characters at the beginning of the game: Kuro-chan, me, or Matatabi, which is the Japanese word for catnip. Every character has 6 weapons: a standard pea shooter, a knife, flamethrower, a bat or hammer, a machine gun, and a bazooka. The weapons are slightly different for each character, but are largely similar in function. As you defeat enemies, you'll receive green power capsules, with which you can choose to power up one of 5 parameters: the strength of one weapon, the maximum number of bullets you can carry for one weapon, defense, which will make you take less damage per hit, speed, or you can increase your life a little bit if your meter is low. I just told you that this game is an action shooter, but to be honest, that statement's a little misleading. If you're expecting something with the mechanics of Contra or Mega Man, you'd be disappointed. This game's a bit different. The majority of the gameplay of Cyborg Kuro Chan doesn't center around using reflexes and hand-eye coordination to avoid pits or strategically placed enemies with unique attack patterns. Instead, you'll get better at the game by learning which weapon to use in which situation, and which weapon parameters to power up early on. There aren't enough power capsules to get every weapon powered up, at least not quickly, so you'll really need to learn what to prioritize. For example, in addition to enemies, levels are strewn with random objects like signposts and garbage bags. If you use the bazooka to shoot these, they'll create a big explosion, filling half the screen that will damage nearby enemies and cause other objects to explode in a chain-like manner. This is super powerful, but the bazooka starts out with the least maximum bullets, and if you shoot an enemy with it, it won't penetrate through them, so that's a waste of your bullets. The machine gun, on the other hand, can pierce through enemies and objects once powered up, and you'll quickly find this is your go-to weapon. I'm going to be very generous today and give you guys one big pointer that's going to help you out when you start playing this game. The knife and flamethrower weapons are utterly useless. Don't waste your power capsules on them. You can thank me later. Only the boss fights employ patterns that you have to learn and require traditional gaming reflexes in order to beat. These are fun with uniquely designed characters, like a rock and roll themed catfish who you'll fight in some kind of futuristic recording studio, I think. The boss battles are also quite difficult. Which leads me to the biggest criticism I have with the game. The control is, for lack of a better term, one-dimensional. You fall at the same speed you jump, so there isn't really the concept of momentum. The biggest problem you'll wrestle with is the double jump mechanic. You can double jump in this game, but the timing for the second jump is much earlier than other games I've played that employ double jumps, like Shinobi or Valis 4. You have to press the button a second time while you're still moving upward, or you'll miss the window. While it will work every time once you've mastered it, you'll find yourself not able to execute it in the heat of the moment when you need it most, mainly boss battles. This will be frustrating. But with practice, you'll realize that it's not so much a problem with the controls, it's a problem with the timing the programmers decided to employ in the game. The music fits the cartoony theme of the game, and there are a few really memorable songs. For me personally, Level 2 and Level 6 are top quality. So, there you have it. A legitimate 2D action game by Konami, never released outside of Japan, and begging to be rediscovered. One last thing about the gameplay. It does have unlimited continues, so you're going to make your goal probably to beat the game without continuing so you can keep your score up until the very end. I can let that slide for this game this time. If you play the game with the default number of lives, it's going to be very difficult. Also, the game was released in 2002. It's very late in the PlayStation's lifespan, which means there are probably very few copies out there. I've been living in Japan looking for retro games hardcore for more than 10 years, and I don't think I've ever seen it at a store. It comes up on Yahoo Auctions every once in a while, but not very often. Right now there's only one copy up on eBay, and it's by some seller in China asking for an outrageous price. So you probably won't be able to buy it there. If you do happen to see it somewhere, you should probably grab it pretty quickly. So that's going to wrap up this episode for today, guys. As always, thanks a lot for watching to the end. I always enjoy talking about these games. And remember, if you enjoyed what you saw, please hit that subscribe button. I'm going to bring a lot more gaming content to you. That's all for me. Thanks.